and kick off quite well. According to the statistics from the Chinese Chemist Bureau, the total volume of the overseas trade is reaching 7.3 trillion RMB, up by 7% compared with last year, among which import is reaching 1.2 trillion RMB, a 2.9 percentage growth compared with last year. And this is also an expansion of 1.2 times compared with last year. If we calculating this number according to the US dollars, the total volume of the Chinese trade overseas is around 3.9 million, a 4% compared with last year, and the exports is accounted for 1.7 million US dollars, 1.9% growth, while the import is increased by the 1.4 million, an increase of 2.9% compared with last year. So the outbound and the inbound trade, while keeping a quite good momentum, is seeing an upgrading of structures with more momentum added up. From the international market structure, our exports is growing, especially towards the emerging and developing market. In January this year, Chinese outbound exports to China, to Japan, US, and European countries is reaching 33%, 29%, and 18%, while our exports to the emerging market, including India, Brazil, and Indonesia, is around 17.6%, 70.4%, 60.1%, and 21.1%. The total trade volume is growing by 11.1% to the Belt and Road countries, accounting for 0.7% of the general exports. And from the major upholding events, private sector is accounted for 73.3 million Chinese RMB, a 3% increase compared with last year. And we also kept a quite good momentum in terms of the private sector's dominance in the outbound trade. SOE's total export volume is around 10.3 million US dollars, an increase of 17%. Foreign exports is reaching 70% growth. From the export structures, in general this year, electronics and mechanics is growing by 11.5%, according to 57.5%, and contributing to a 50% growth in terms of the increase to the exports, among which electronics, circuits, and automobile mechanics is increasing by 36.5%, and 40.3%. And the single price is increased by 34.3%, 17.2%, and also 90.3%. For textiles, tools, and other labor-intensive products, the total increase is around 10.3 million. That is also a 14% growth. And from the general trade volumes, the total trade is reaching 80 million Chinese RMB's growth, accounting for 59% of the total growth. So for the value-added processing product, the increase is reaching 43 billion RMB, a 53% growth. From the bulk commodities, crude oil, natural gases, and coals is seeing an increase of import, while the soybeans is seeing a decline in terms of the imports. In January this year, crude oil, natural gas, coals, and also the iron coals is reaching a 56.1%, 90.1%, and 17.8% growth compared with last year. According to the statistics, crude oil, natural gas, and coals, among other 10 bulk commodities, is pulling up the total growth number by 1.7%. The seventh information I want to share with you is about the total growth of the trade volumes. In 2019, the total import of the foreign trade can be concluded like this. The foreign direct investment and the actual use of the foreign investment is growing by 18.8 billion RMB. That's equivalent to 12.4 billion US dollars, 28% compared with last year. This is also the non-banking, security, and insurance sectors. There are 4,646 companies which were set up in China, especially in the high-tech industry is flourishing in China. The manufacturing industry in China is totally used around 20.3 million RMB as foreign investment, while the service sector is seeing an increase of the 2 million RMB. And for the high-tech sectors, the increase of the using foreign invested capital is around 24 million RMBs. And for the high-end service sector, the total use of the foreign trade is seeing a 134% growth, among which information technology, research and development, the translations of the technological results is seeing a 116% growth, 135%, and also 126% growth respectively. For the middle part of China, their absorption ability toward the foreign investment capital is kept a quite growing momentum. The total usage of the foreign invested trade is seeing a 16% growth, accounting for 8.4%. The fourth sector we want to share with you is about the major investment area. China, Hong Kong, Singapore, United States, United Kingdoms is increasing their investment by 6.5%, 6.4%, 16.5%, and 116.5%. Countries alongside Belt Road in China and the EU area is seeing a 12.2%, 2.7%, and 22.5%. These are the information I want to share with you. Right now, the floor is open to all of you. Thank you very much. I'm with Phoenix. Today, my question is directed to the China-US high-level trade consultations, and we want to ask that before today's opening ceremony, what kind of achievement do we have, and are there any areas we are going to cover in this trade consultations? We all know that the high-level China-US trade consultation is underway. I don't have further information to share with you, but if I have further information, I'll give you the information and update you. Thank you. With CCTV, we all know that the economic agreement for the free trade area is going to be undertaken between European countries and Japan. Some of the opinions think that with this trade agreement being signed up by the China and the European countries and Japan is going to take into effort the price they are going to ask for China is actually going to pose a further challenge to the Chinese trade. What kind of impact is going to generate to the Chinese economy? Thank you for your question. We noticed the latest update of the European-Japan Free Trade Agreement. We have upheld a consistent stance toward this kind of trade agreement, as long as it's in line with the principles from WTO, open and transparent, and it's good for the regional economic emergencies. We are adopting a supportive rules. Currently, we have followed the procedures and based on Chinese own circumstances to steadily promoted the bilateral trade and multilateral trade consultations between different countries. No matter how the external environment changes, Chinese steps towards an ever larger trade volume is not going to stop. China has a vast economic market with a huge consumption power to be unleashed. We believe a good trade negotiation and agreement is not only going to benefit China, but also going to benefit the world.
Thank you. Keith Bradshaw, New York Times. The United States government has said that it wants some kind of ongoing enforcement of a trade agreement. Will China agree? Thank you.
来自《纽约时报》的提问：美国政府之前说过，想要采取持续的措施来确保中国贯彻执行贸易协定。请问中国政府会接受这样的提议吗？谢谢。
谢谢你的提问。关于你这个问题呢
Thank you for your question. For this question, my understanding is actually predictions to the results of the consultation. I think I will update you the latest information about the consultation later.
谢谢发言人。新华社记者提问。刚才您发布了1月份。
Thank you very much. With Xinhua News Agency, you have released the figures about the foreign investment in China in January, and we specifically noticed that the foreign set-up companies in China is actually seeing a decrease, while the U.S. investment in China is reaching a 124% growth, a quite distinct growth, which can be noticed by us. Can we ask the reason behind it? And we all noticed that recently, MOFCOM and NDRC is collaborating on a catalog of the foreign investors. So can you tell us what is the backdrop of thinking behind it? And for the other stages, are there any considerations behind it? Thank you very much for your question. Let me answer your second question first. It's about the two categories. According to the work plans from the State Council, starting from November in the year 2018, MOFCOM, together with NDRC, formulated these two catalogs. Up to now, we are inviting opinions from the general public, and this opinion collection period is going to be stopped at March the 20th. So for the corrections of the two catalogs is going to optimize the environment for foreign investment and better prepare the Chinese open up to the new stage. So in the invitational letter, the categories to invite the foreign investment is being ever enlarged. The national categories towards foreign investment is seeing an increase of 53 articles compared with the last version. We encourage foreign investment to direct themselves to the modern agriculture, smart manufacturing, modern services, among other areas. And for the categories which is targeting the central and western part of China, which is being adopted to the middle central part of the province, Hainan province, and also the northeast provinces in China. And we want to combine this foreign investment with the local advantages to better open up China with the world, and better strengthen the cooperation and development between China and Belt and Road countries. Generating a foreign investment clusters in these areas. For the foreign investment, if they set up companies in China according to the categories, they will enjoy a lot of subsidies. For example, for the self-used equipment within the investment volumes, we are adopting a tax-free policy. And there are also a maximum 30% of the land preferential policies and subsidies to the general land usage. There are other different preferential policies of value-added tax. We believe the publishing of this category is going to better guide the foreign trade investment for upgradings and better structures for the investment in the Chinese economy. For the question about the foreign investment absorption in January this year, as I mentioned, the total absorptions for foreign investment in China is seeing an increase. But for the newly added the foreign company numbers, I think that a single month change is not reflecting a momentum on the trajectories. The setting up of foreign invested companies is going to see a little bit ups and downs according to different period. According to you mentioned about the U.S. investment, China is seeing a quite huge growth compared with last year. I think this huge increase is due to thanks to Chinese effort to build up a better entrepreneurial environment. And from China's side, we'll work harder to build up and create a better entrepreneurial environment suited for all kinds of companies to operate itself, and better upgraded our attractions to the foreign investment.
谢谢发言人。中国商报记者提问，我的问题是关于直销。那么我们在看
Thank you
商务部的网站
very
信息
much.
显示，在过去
With
2018年，
China
只有
Chemist
一家企
Daily,
业拿到了直
my
销牌照。
question is
那么
about
有评论
direct
称
sales.
中国的直销行业管理
And
已经
I
进入
can
了
see
直销
that
规
from
则
the
的建立。
categories from
想请问一
MOFCOM,
下发言人，
there's
当前
only
直销牌照
one
的发放
direct
是由哪
sales
些评
companies
判
getting
标
the
准？
license
另外，
from
就
the
2019
MOFCOMs.
年来看，
So
牌
my
照的发
question
放
is
是否
that
仍
are
将
there
维持之前
any
不增的现状？
requirement
谢谢。
to get the license of the direct sale companies? Is the momentum going to be kept in the coming year? Thank you very much for your question. For the questions about the direct sales environment and industry, up to now, MOFCOM has stopped the licensing, approval, and recordings of direct sales company and actually upgrading and reporting all of the data we have to the upper level institutions. We are going to give a full overhaul and scannings and scrutinies towards the direct sale industry, especially for the healthy product, and we are going to join our hands with relative institutions to protect the safeties and interests of our customers. During this campaign, we are also going to better implement the laws and regulations towards the direct sale industry, stipulate the industry with a credit-based system and build up a credit negative list for the companies and increase to build up a better, cleaner, and transparent environment for the direct sale industry. Thank you very much. Can you give us an update of the free trade area in Shanghai? Thank you very much for your question. Up to now, the MOFCOM, together with relevant institutions, is speeding up our effort in the new areas of the Shanghai Free Trade areas, the overall plans and the general outlines. Based on our previous efforts, we are going to select key areas to implement the best and most competitive policies to support the free trade area and better testing the risk in the open-up economy models.
You've already said you weren't going to talk about the trade talks, but obviously that's the topic of the day, so I have to ask. The first question is, there's been some reports about that President Trump will extend the deadline for tariffs by 60 days. I think we've reported on Saishin has also reported that he's considering that. Do you think, personally, do you think if that happens, it will be a good sign for a possible deal between the US and China, and that people should take that as a positive step? And the second question is, if the trade talks fail, what is China's plan B? The tariffs should currently rise in 14 days. And what do you plan to do if that happens? Thank you.
您好，彭博新闻社，想问您2个问题。第一个问题是，据报道，美国特朗普总统在考虑可能会延期执行这个对中国的关税，然后是60天，不知道您是否听说过这个消息？然后如果这个消息是真的话，您是否会认为这是对中美谈判的一个释放出来的积极信号？第2个问题是说，如果中美不能够达成协议的话，那么中方有什么应对计划，然后来保护企业应对继续可能贸易战的升级？谢谢。
谢谢你的提问。关于你的这2个问题
Thank you for your question. For the 2 questions you asked, I think after the end of this round of the high-level China-US economic and trade consultation, I will give you a better answer. Thank you.
谢谢发言人，我是香港无线电视记者提问。留意到就是高技术产业。
Thank you very much. With Hong Kong networks, we all know that for the high-tech industry, there are subsidies from the government. With the development of 5Gs, is this going to influence?
华为事件。将来我看到就是现在的数据，就是说那个增幅很显著。
The data
未来如果华为事件继续发展的话，会不会
is increasing quite dramatically. If the event about Huawei going to develop further, what kind of a future will it uphold it? Will we going to see about these events? For the Chinese economy, we are promoting for the high-quality development of the industry, especially for the innovative growth. So I think for the economic growth in China, with the joint effort from different sides, the momentum is not going to be changed. Any other questions? Without any questions, this is the end of today's press relief. Thank you.